If you don't do what you need to do this week, you're playing yourself. And welcome back to my channel where we do a weekly deep dive analysis into every chapter of The Artist's Way. And now we are on week 5, y'all. I can't believe it. If you have made it this far, congratulations to you because you are a winner and you don't give up. I love that for you. Most people usually give up around like week 3. It's very difficult to stick with this 12-week curriculum because the author calls you out. She makes you feel uncomfortable. She really forces you to face yourself, and it's not fun. So if you made it this far, congratulations to you. You have a beautiful, beautiful future ahead of you. So without any further ado, let's get into week 5, recovering a sense of possibility. Last week was about recovering a sense of integrity. And if you've missed any of the weeks, don't forget to check them out on my page or in the description or in this playlist. Week 5 is really about opening up the creative floodgates, honestly, and really allowing yourself to imagine something bigger than yourself and really letting in the flood of endless possibilities. So week 1 through 4, we really been on this journey of really nurturing our inner child, which is our inner artist. They're the same thing, they're interchangeable, and really allowing that version of ourselves to come to the surface and, reassuring ourselves that it is safe enough to go deep and go into the subconscious and really allow our inner artist, our inner child, to really shine and be able to kind of take over. So week 5 is really about unpacking all limiting beliefs and understanding that you can do things that are bigger than your imaginations, and understanding that the creative journey is nothing but abundance. So let's get into it. Number 1, limiting beliefs. The author states, one of the chief barriers to accepting God's generosity is our limited notion of what we are in fact able to accomplish. What an opener. That is the opening line of the chapter, and I really do appreciate the author for really, really, really uncovering the limitless power of God. The author speaks about God and the Creator very frequently in this chapter because it is very important to know that there is something, someone, some entity that is beyond us as human beings. So it would actually be quite foolish of us to put these limiting beliefs onto ourselves. It's pointless, it's nonsensical. I think one of humanity's greatest flaws is grossly underestimating the power of God, the power of Source, this entity, this creator that has the ability to create things that are beyond our wildest imaginations. Why are we putting ourselves into self-constraints? The author states, most of us never consider how powerful the Creator truly is. Instead, we draw very limited amounts of power available to us. We decide how powerful God is for us. We unconsciously set a limit on how much God can give us or help us. We are stingy with ourselves. And if we receive a gift beyond our imagining, we often send it back. It is so easy to have these big dreams and have these things that we feel called to. It's so easy to run away, to ignore them, to continue to push them away because we think that there's no way that we can do that. That is beyond our possibilities. That is beyond our capabilities. Those are the type of things that we tell ourselves. But I am challenging you to really push yourselves and push your imaginations beyond any human limitation and really ask yourself, what would success, what would my creative journey look like if I had no barriers? If the possibilities and the options for me to get to where I need to go were endless? Like, truly ask yourself, what would you do? What would your life look like? What would you allow yourself to create if you couldn't fail? And I'm not saying that God is this magician that can wave their magical wand and just grant all your wishes and all your dreams will come true. That's not what I'm saying. However, I am telling you to free yourselves of the confines of your internal mind and allow it to be freed from the limiting barriers that you place onto yourself when you fully understand the endless possibilities and capabilities of our Creator. And this is not to say, whatever you think is going to happen is just going to happen just because you want it to happen. That's not what I'm saying. This is not, a magical world. We truly serve an abundant God. We really do. It is the human flaw and the brain that puts these limits onto ourselves. It's not God that does that. It's us. The author states, remembering that God is our source, an energy flows that likes to extend itself. We become more able to tap our creative power effectively. We truly do serve an abundant God. The best way to overcome limiting beliefs is to truly and faithfully believe that you are living in abundance. And because God, the Creator, wants you to create, created you to create, they're going to do everything in their power so that things can work out in your favor. But because of our limiting beliefs, we stop ourselves from even allowing ourselves to meet God halfway. That is the most important thing. We have to meet God halfway, because a lot of times we think that if God is this all-powerful being, if the universe is this all-powerful being, and the Creator wants me to create, then I should be able to just sit on my back and things should just flow to me, right? However, that is not the case. You have to have some type of equilibrium where you flow halfway. You have to meet God halfway. The author states the metaphor, pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you possibly can. You cannot hope to catch the bus and you chilling in bed? You still under the covers? You haven't even gotten up yet? You are hoping and manifesting and praying that you're gonna make it to the bus. No, that's not how that works. God will allow you to catch that bus. Trust and believe. But you have to give as much power and energy towards that goal or that destination as humanly possible so that God can kind of lay the path for you. The author states, for this to happen, first of all, we must believe that we are allowed to catch the bus. We come to recognize that God is unlimited in supply and that everyone has equal access. This begins to clear up guilt about having or getting too much. Since everyone can draw on the universal supply, we deprive no one with our abundance. If we learn to think of receiving God's good as being an act of worship, cooperating with God's plan to manifest goodness into our lives, we can begin to let go of having to sabotage ourselves. I really love that excerpt in this chapter because it really does encapsulate so much and so much of the fears and the self-sabotaging habits that we encapsulate as humans. Shout out to week 4. We really got into like self-sabotaging habits and all those things, but you have to really believe that you are abundant and there are things that are beyond our capabilities of understanding that are working behind closed doors, that are working in our favor to get us to where we want to go. A lot of times we may feel guilty, we may feel shameful, we may sabotage our goals because of all these limiting beliefs that we place onto ourselves. But in order to really tap into our faith and really understand abundance and understanding that the universe is beyond our capabilities of understanding or are beyond our ability to quantify, that's when you'll be able to tap into the reservoir of abundance. The author states, we must learn to let the flow manifest itself where it will, not where we will it. I love that quote. I love that quote. I absolutely love that quote so much because when you don't really understand abundance, you can't understand the fact that God has endless ideas to give, endless money to give, endless creations to give to everyone. Because we have these human limitations, we cannot fully understand how deep abundance truly is. And so we place these limitations onto ourselves, and we kind of think that things can only happen this way, through this person, through this avenue, and that's how we stay stuck, super stuck. So we really have to do what we need to do while simultaneously letting go on how we are going to get to where we need to go. We have to let go of how we're going to get there and just stay focused on where we're trying to go and completely just free ourselves from how we're going to get there and just know that we're going to get there. Once you focus on knowing and not how, you are freed. And you really have to free yourself, especially from the physical realm. And I'm not saying ignore what's happening, but you cannot let it override what you know you want to do. So, understanding that and truly embodying that, you will realize that there's no physical barrier that is going to stop you to get you to where you need to go. There is no physical barrier. There is simply just new obstacles to overcome, and you simply just need to pivot. Because if God, the creator of the universe, has the ability to make nanomicroscopic atomic structures in our cells and is able to create the heavens and the earth and the planets and the ecosystem in the ocean, and having all these creatures and all these lives and skies, and if the creator can do that, why wouldn't they be able to create your creative journey? Why would they not be able to create abundance in your life? Why would they not be able to give you that next song for you to write? Why would they not be able to give you the next painting for you to paint? Why would they not be able to give you the tools that you need to get to where you need to go? That doesn't make any sense. And that brings us into number 2, the flow. The author states, recovery, creative recovery, is the process of finding the river and saying yes to its flow, rapids, and everything else. Yes, there are going to be times where there might be barriers, there might be obstacles, there might be things happening in your life that are going against your goal, but you still have to let it flow. You still have to be able to let the water and the tides and the thunderstorms, you have to let it flow. For the last couple of weeks, we really have been tapping into our subconscious and really unpacking our fears, our, negative thoughts. We've been unpacking all of those things, but right now, this week, we really have to focus on letting our conscious flow properly and letting things just go. This week, we really have to focus on letting things just be and being okay with things happening that may not align with what we think should happen, but letting it happen anyways. Because what you have to realize is that we only have one way of thinking, or a very limited way of thinking, and a very limited way of imagining things beyond human conception. And in order to really tap into that, we have to let things flow. And in this section, the author really does emphasize the importance of the morning pages. If you haven't been doing that on a daily basis or trying to do that daily, you are missing out. You are missing out extremely, because the morning pages really allow you to really unpack a lot of the fears that we hold inside and allow us to have a state of flow in our consciousness, because we're getting things out into the paper. So if you haven't been doing that the last couple of weeks, you have to start. It is desperately needed. And the morning pages allows us to be more free thinking and open-minded. The author states that the morning pages gradually loosen on our hold on fixed opinions and short-sighted views. We see that our moods, views, and insights are transitionary. We acquire a sense of movement, a current of change in our lives. This current or river is a flow of grace moving us to our right livelihood, companions, and destiny. Dependence on the Creator within is really freedom from all other dependencies. So in order to really free ourselves and really tap into our faith and our faith into our creative selves and our creative journey, we have to let go of all need for control and to control the outcome and control how we get to our outcomes. One of the best ways to align with our creative selves is to see the silver lining in adversity, in our obstacles, in our barriers, and be able to see that things are not always as it seems, and they can be rewired into something that could actually be working in our benefit. And now that we have let things flow, we need to understand how we get into our own ways by trying to be this good or righteous person. Number 3, the virtue trap. Sometimes, a lot of the times, we don't do things that work in our best benefit because we don't want to come off as selfish, or we don't want to come off as a bad person. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you are sacrificing your well-being for the sake of others and, the fear of their judgment, you're actually living in a shell of yourself. Sometimes we aid in our own suffering for the sake of being a good person or not wanting to come off as bad. But the author argues that we have to have time alone. We have to have time to do nothing. We have to have time to really tap into our creative endeavors. We have to make time to do all of those things. And if we don't, we will be deprived. Our inner child, our inner artist will be deprived. Without these periods of replenishment and, tapping into our creative reservoir, we are going to deplete ourselves. I especially like how the author says it, vampirizing our souls. vampirizing our souls. I'm watching Twilight this weekend, so that's really funny to me. But no, for real, no funny. We are literally draining ourselves. We are literally draining ourselves. The author gives a couple of examples, like, for example, the mom that decides to, go to every single recital instead of taking one time to go to the music class that she wants to go to, or the guy that doesn't really want to offend his friends, so he decides to go along with what he doesn't want to do for the sake of not wanting to be selfish. But you have to understand, selfishness is sometimes necessary in the creative journey. Now, this quote is a little bit harsh because the author is really calling us out, but the author states, many of us have made a virtue out of deprivation. We have embraced a long-suffering artistic anorexia as a martyr's cross. And we have used it to feed a false sense of spirituality grounded in being good or superior. But the truth is, this spiritual superiority that we feel when we think that we're doing the right thing by abandoning ourselves and abandoning our inner child, this thing that we think that we're doing is actually causing us more harm in the long run. And as time goes on, you are just diminishing and crushing your inner artist, which is your true self. Creatives who are caught in the virtue trap still cannot let themselves approve of this true self. Don't do it, y'all. Don't do it. The more that we do for others and the more that we sacrifice for others at the expense of ourselves is only hurting our inner artists more and more as time goes on. So you really have to ask yourself, are you being self-destructive? Are you getting in your own way for the sake of others? Are you sacrificing too much? And that wraps up week 5. I can't believe it, 5. This week is really forcing you to really tap into abundance and really kind of push away any limiting beliefs that may be in the way of you and your creative journey. And fully understanding that the creative world, the creative entity that we are in is bigger than our wildest imaginations, and that there are possibilities that we cannot even conceptualize in our human minds, and allowing us to really tap into that. And we did that this week by really understanding and dismantling 1, limiting beliefs, 2, the flow, and 3, the virtue trap. Understanding these 3 concepts will truly allow you to understand the ways that you are getting in your own way, and how sometimes we can limit ourselves because of our human mind, and understanding that there are things that are working in our favor that we may not really understand, but they're there anyways. Just because you don't understand it, or you may not believe it, or this entire video, it might be like, this girl don't know what she's talking about, this is all hooey-booey nonsense. Just because you don't believe it, or you're not tapped into it, doesn't mean it's not there. So you might as well just tap into it so that you can really understand that you don't have to put limitations onto yourself. You don't have to put this mental barrier onto yourselves. You don't have to do any of that. Truly ask yourself, what would you do? How would you act? How would you think if you couldn't fail? And there was no barriers in your way. What would you do? And when you ask yourself those questions, do that and think that way. It's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna cause you any harm. To think in a way beyond the human mind, thinking in abundance. And the irony is, week 6, I didn't even look at the chapter for next week yet. But surprisingly, next week is recovering a sense of abundance, which is so ironic. I'm really excited to see what that week is about. So please join me back here next week to really unpack week 6, a week of abundance. So this week was week 5, recovering a sense of possibilities, and check back next week, recovering a sense of abundance. I love you. Bye.